Exclusive contracted novel by Falun Novel Network. Newly developed Mars, Rabbit encounters Trisolarans civilization. Lu Yan traveled through parallel worlds and became a student at the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. Upon graduation, in order to find design inspiration, Lu Yan started scrolling through his phone, only to discover that he could decipher weapon and equipment techniques in anime games. At the beginning, analyze the space carrier ATIS and obtain the Magus power system. Produce the world's strongest thrust rocket, instantly kill Saturn V, and reach Mars directly. Obtain the most advanced space-based technology, directly complete Biosphere 2, and then develop Mars ahead of Tesla. When Lu Yan built the rocket base and successfully began immigration and launched a Mars renovation project, he unexpectedly received a mysterious signal. And the location of the signal actually comes from the Alpha Centauri galaxy. Lu Yan is confused. Isn't this special a three-body civilization? The world leader, Eagle Sauce, suddenly panicked and said, "Rabbit Dad, we're still on the blue star, so you'll be the one to resist the three-body problem." Falun Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 001 Opening Analysis of Aerospace Carrier. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Imperial City. Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. Lu Yan lay bored on the bed in the dormitory. He is still a bit unbelievable, he has actually traveled through time. This is a parallel world that is extremely similar to Blue Star, and even the name of this body is called Lu Yan. Not only that, the various organs of the body also feel like they are his own. This should be oneself in a parallel world. This university is the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and is one of the famous 7 sons of national defense. Before crossing over, he also applied to this university, but was not admitted due to a difference of 2 points. So this is to make up for the regret. What regret to make up for? Lu Yan only felt a headache. Because his predecessor completely unleashed himself after being admitted to college, his knowledge system in his mind became a paste. Even if he is smart, it will be difficult for him to complete his graduation project in this situation. Forget it, why don't you know how to swipe your phone? Lu Yan has been following a lot of tech creators these days. I just hope to find inspiration from it. A scramjet engine can obtain oxygen from the atmosphere during ascent. Abandoning carrying oxidants and obtaining oxygen from flight saves weight, which means that under the same mass of propellant consumption, a scramjet engine can generate 4 times the thrust of a rocket. The sound of commentary coming from the mobile video. What is being introduced is the scramjet engine. Lu Yan frowned because his roommate was studying this type of engine, which is said to even be used as a 6th-generation fighter jet engine. But he couldn't participate in this project at all, and his knowledge in his head was still too limited. It is almost impossible to relearn in such a short period of time. Lu Yan brushes towards another video. He wants to see if there is anything he can make with his own abilities. Just like the sunlight piercing through the night, the dawn quietly streaks across the horizon. The familiar BGM rings. Lu Yan was also slightly stunned. I didn't expect there to be light in this world. Although already a big child. But which boy can refuse to watch an Ultraman in his spare time? Suddenly, a massive spaceship appears in the picture. But strangely enough, there is actually an extra blue semi-transparent panel next to Lu Yan's phone. Is it necessary to analyze the space carrier ATIS? Analytical techniques. Magus power system, Magus cannon, electromagnetic laser cannon. Expected time: 365 years. Lu Yan's eyes lit up. As a senior enthusiast of online literature, he certainly understands that the welfare finger system for the traveler has been launched. It seems that the triggering condition of this system is to be able to parse the advanced equipment in the video. Lu Yan originally wanted to change the video and verify it. But soon he gave up again. If this system has only one parsing opportunity. If you row it yourself, isn't it over? Lu Yen began researching data on space carriers. Space carriers are future combat weapons. It is equipped with aerospace fighter jets that can operate both in space and in the atmosphere. It is mainly equipped with carrier-based aircraft, kinetic energy weapons, laser weapons, etc., and serves as a large aircraft for its aerial activity base. However, this 365 years is really too long. Once analyzed, my ashes have all weathered. At this moment, Lu Yen noticed that there is also a technology library next to the panel of the aerospace carrier. Click on one of the technologies. Surprisingly, a parsing button popped up. Lu Yen was immediately overjoyed. It seems that the technology of this aerospace carrier can be decomposed step by step. At present, Longhua is building its own large aircraft, and the engine is the most difficult problem that needs to be solved. He clicked on the Magus power system that was on in the Atticus. The Magus propulsion system is a spacecraft propulsion system that utilizes the collision of protons and antiprotons to generate enormous energy for propulsion. Such a system only needs to be installed in the aircraft. That plane will directly turn into an aerial plane. After clicking, the panel also changed. Analyzing. Magus power system. Expected time. 10 years. Sure enough. After step-by-step parsing. The expected time has also been shortened to 10 years. But 10 years is just too long. I really don't know if there is a way to shorten the parsing time. At this moment, the door of the dormitory was pushed open. A boy wearing glasses walked in. Yenzi, we discussed it a bit, why don't you cooperate with us on the supercombustion engine? This way, your graduation score can also be higher, making it easier to find a good job. Lu Yen recognized that the boy in front of him was named Zhuge Ming, who was one of his good friends. Although this body is a bit inexperienced, it is doing quite well in interpersonal relationships. These roommates were willing to give Lu Yen this opportunity even though they knew he couldn't be of much help in the research process. It's okay to participate, but I can observe it. Lu Yenshao said, and then walked out with Zhuge Ming. P.S. The new book set sale, data is very important, please find some flowers and evaluation tickets. 002 Graduation Project, Magus Power System. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. After arriving at the experimental building, Lu Yen saw many classmates coming and going. The Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics has the advanced laboratory of Longhua. Even many military enterprises conduct experiments here. The two of them arrived at the third floor. This is the key laboratory of aerodynamic and thermal defense technology for aircraft engines. After entering inside, Lu Yen saw his roommate conducting a wind tunnel experiment. Isn't this a statement? How come you're thinking about it? Let's do a scramjet engine together. One of the tall boys stopped his work and looked at Lu Yenshao. No, just come to the laboratory to see if you can find some inspiration. Lu Yenshao said. Although his roommate strongly invited him to participate in the experiment of a supersonic engine, he refused. Because this topic was originally being studied by the three of them. And the research has come to an end. And such a collective project, every additional person will affect the final scoring result. Lu Yen naturally won't take advantage of others. In addition to experimental equipment, the laboratory. There are also many books about engines. After observing the three of them for a while, Lu Yen developed and flipped through books. Although this body has been skipping classes for almost all 4 years of college. But fortunately, intelligence is still sufficient. Although it is somewhat obscure and difficult to understand, it can still be understood in general. 2 hours later. Lu Yen has finished reading 3 books. And the 3 people who were studying also stopped. Yanzi, let's go eat. Zhuge Ming said. At this moment, Lu Yan also realized. It's already lunchtime now. Don't say it yet. He is really a bit hungry. 4 people arrived at the cafeteria. Have a simple lunch. Just as Lu Yan opened his phone again, he discovered that the Magus power system, which originally took 10 years to analyze, now only takes 9 years and 200 days. The estimated time has actually decreased by almost a year. Lu Yan suddenly understood something. It seems that as long as I work hard to learn relevant knowledge, I can reduce the time for parsing. Lu Yan murmured. And Zhuge Ming next to him also noticed Lu Yan. Yanzi, what are you muttering in your mouth? Lu Yanxiao said, it's nothing, I also plan to study with you this afternoon. Yanzi, why do you seem to have changed a person? Usually at this time, you are already in qualifying. The tall boy smiled and said. People. Occasionally, you can lie flat, but not in the long run. After returning to the laboratory, Lu Yan is once again immersed in the ocean of knowledge. And he found out. Besides reading books, conducting small experiments by oneself can also shorten the analysis time. Day after day passed, and soon it was graduation season. During this period, Lu Yan has successfully deciphered the Magus power system, and successfully drew the design diagram. But we have the design drawings. He also needs finished products to support it. Lu Yan arrived at Warehouse 3 of the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. This place is both called a dilapidated house and a treasure trove. Many students will throw their abandoned works here. And there are also many discarded military equipment components that will be thrown here. Some even found the engine of the EP1-10 inside. After Lu Yan swiped his student card. Enter inside. Some areas here are organized, while others are unorganized. The Magus propulsion system utilizes the collision of protons and antiprotons to generate energy. So currently, the first step is to find a particle accelerator. With particle accelerators, the core problem can be solved. Particle accelerators are unlikely to be found here. However, he can definitely find the relevant materials. Make a small particle accelerator yourself. Since we are going to make an accelerator, we need a particle source. The particle source of Americium.241 is very wrong. This is something we often encounter in our daily lives: alpha particle radiation source. Usually present in smoke alarms. Lu Yan began to search. He has good luck. Quickly found several smoke alarms. Open the smoke alarm, there is a small ionization chamber inside. The principle of a smoke alarm is to collect ionized electrons and positive ions when a voltage is applied at both ends, thereby generating an electric current. But when smoke begins to diffuse in the air, positive ions will be absorbed by particles in the smoke, thereby blocking the collection of positive ions and interfering with the formation of electric currents. And this special ion is exactly Americium.241. Lu Yan put on white gloves, carefully opened the ionization chamber, and began collecting with tweezers. Although Americium.241 is radioactive, its energy is only 5.5 MeV, and it can only travel a few centimeters in the air and cannot penetrate the skin. The radioactive source has been collected. It's the problem with particle beams. Particle beams can perform beam focusing, which is also a crucial step in particle accelerators. In large particle accelerators, superconducting quadrupole magnets are generally used. But what Lu Yan wants to manufacture is just a small accelerator, which naturally does not require superconducting magnets. Ordinary rare earth magnets can also meet this requirement. After 3 hours of exploration, finally, the small particle accelerator has been manufactured. P.S. The new book sets sail, seeking data and support. 003 Manufacturing completed, Proton engine created globally. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Particle accelerators generate protons. Then we also need antiprotons. Fortunately, the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics also has a proton synchrotron accelerator. It's not difficult to collect some antiprotons. However, proton synchrotron accelerators are generally only authorized for use by professors and their graduate students. I am just a senior student. I want to obtain permission. This seems a bit difficult. At this moment, a pleasant sound came from behind. Lu Yan, why are you here? Lu Yan turned around. I saw a handsome girl. She wore a floral skirt that was knee-high, appearing very bright and lively. Lu Yan's memories flooded into his mind. This girl's name is Zhou Qingyu, she is his senior sister and also recognized as the school flower. When I was a freshman, it was she who brought herself for the freshman report. I'm looking for something to do for my graduation project, and you, senior. Lu Yan smiled. I want to find some tungsten targets for experiments, but it's difficult to find, so I can only come to this warehouse to try my luck. Zhou Qingyu said helplessly. She has been searching for a long time but hasn't found this material, so obviously she doesn't have much expectation for this warehouse. Tungsten target. Lu Yanxiao said, Senior sister, you're really lucky. I just found a few tungsten targets. He finished speaking and quickly found the tungsten target. And it was packed in a special container and handed over to Zhou Qingyu. Zhou Qingyu's eyes lit up as she looked at the tungsten target in the container. Lu Yan, I really want to thank you very much. Can you do me a favor? Lu Yan suddenly remembered that this senior sister was a graduate student under a certain professor, and her major was physics, so she had full authority to use proton synchronous accelerators. What are you busy with? Zhou Qingyu said with some confusion. Cough, I want to use a proton synchrotron, I need some antiprotons. Lu Yan coughed lightly and said. Antiprotons. What kind of graduation project actually uses antiprotons? This greatly aroused Zhou Qingyu's curiosity. It's possible. Our school's proton synchrotron accelerator has just been upgraded, with a 10-fold increase in antiproton production compared to before. However, the use of proton synchronous accelerators requires a large amount of electricity consumption, which you will need to reimburse yourself. After completing the experiment, you may only be able to eat instant noodles. Zhou Qingyu frowned and said. When I heard that the electricity bill was actually in 4 digits. Lu Yan was also surprised. He has no family in this world. The only savings on hand are subsidies for impoverished students. Fortunately, I usually save money and spend more than 10,000 yuan. Let's make instant noodles. For the Magus power system. Hold on. After Lu Yan agreed to reimburse himself, Zhou Qingyu brought him to the Institute of High Energy Physics. There is a proton synchrotron here. Zhou Qingyu is very proficient in turning on the accelerator. Wait. Lu Yan blocked the way. What's going on? Zhou Qingyu has some doubts. She usually operates like this. Your operation will cause other individual protons to collide with the system, producing other protons with momentum, bringing in external energy, and forming interference. If the parameters are set to this, collisions between individual protons can be achieved, and the production of antimatter will also increase. Lu Yan reset the parameters of the proton synchrotron. Watch his settings. Zhou Qingyu pursed her small mouth. She couldn't understand this kind of operation either. Then follow your settings, it's you who pays anyway. After Zhou Qingyu finished speaking, press the acceleration button. The huge accelerator began to operate. 2 hours later, the accelerator stopped. Zhou Qingyu was directly stunned. Therefore, this acceleration actually generated 0.01 grams of antimatter. This is exactly 10 times more than the antimatter they usually generate. But just the level of operation of this proton accelerator is enough for him to be admitted to graduate school. Lu Yan nodded in satisfaction. According to the formula E equals mc²2, if 1 gram of antimatter annihilates with an equal mass of positive matter, the energy released will be approximately 1.8 by 10^14 joules, equivalent to 42,800 tons of explosive equivalent. At present, this 0.01 gram antimatter can also produce over 400 tons of T explosive equivalent, which is enough for his engine to use. After all, this is just his graduation project. Creating something too scary is not very good. Thank you, senior sister. We'll treat you to dinner another day. Lu Yan smiled and took the experimental sample, ignoring Zhou Qingyu who was in a daze, before turning around and leaving. Within the key laboratory of aerospace engine defense technology. With a small particle accelerator and antimatter, finally based on the design diagram of the Magus dynamical system. A small engine appeared in front of him. This Magus power system, also known as the Proton engine, is unique all over the world. I don't know how many points this graduation project can earn. Lu Yan murmured. P.S. The new book set sail, data is important, seek some fresh flowers. 004 testing begins. First launch, turbofan engine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 1 week later. Lu Yan and his roommate arrived at the No. 2 gymnasium in the school. The No. 2 Sports Center is the largest sports center in the entire university. The graduation project presentation will be held here. Just arrived at the gym. Lu Yan heard some voices of discussion. I heard that someone from Longwa Space Administration has also come this time. If they can perform well in the exhibition, they may be able to join Longwa Space Administration directly. Isn't Longwa Space Administration right? My biggest dream in my life is to join the space agency. Longwa Space Administration not only has high salaries, but also has access to the most advanced aerospace technology and can serve the motherland. However, the quota is limited. I heard there are only 2 available. Isn't that right? We have nearly 1,000 people, only 2 spots. I don't know if my work can pass the level. Yanzi, the test is about to begin. Are you nervous? Zhuge Ming beside asked. Lu Yan shook his head and said, I don't have any confidence in my heart either. As long as I can pass the test and graduate smoothly, that's all. Graduation. Do you still want to graduate? At this moment, a tall boy heard the conversation between the two and pursed his lips, saying. He is Wang Sheng. The class monitor of Lu Yan's class. In his eyes. Lu Yan is just a second-rate student who loves to skip classes and often fails. What kind of works can he produce? Wang Sheng has a lot of prestige in the class. His words have just finished. Other classmates also started discussing. Isn't that Lu Yan? Lu Yan, who skips classes every day, can participate in his graduation project. I was supposed to drop out of school if I failed, but I don't know what happened. In the last semester, I woke up and made up for all the courses. It's a bit impressive to make up for all the subjects I missed in 1 semester. So what? The graduation project is a summary of 4 years of study, but it's not so easy to fool the past. Don't pay attention to them, let's go over there. One of Lu Yan's roommates said. Although Lu Yan's reputation in the class is not very good. But the roommate in room 301 still takes good care of him. Lu Yan touched his nose. I didn't pay attention to them either. Standing on the other side. Not long ago. The teacher came to the gymnasium. There are also many elderly people wearing blue suits among them. One of the elderly people, Lu Yan, actually knows. It was he who presided over the Tianwen project. I didn't expect experts at this level to be present. Lu Yan also felt his blood boil. A teacher walked up and stood on the podium, introducing, "Classmates, let me introduce you. Today's evaluation includes not only experts and professors from our Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, but also leaders from Longwa Space Administration, who will rate your graduation project from multiple perspectives. Let's welcome the leaders of NASA together." The teacher just finished speaking. The classmates applauded one after another. The faces of those big shots from NASA are really familiar to them. Some people even graduated from this university, and their portraits are hung in the corridors of the campus. The teacher then turned around and looked at the leaders of the space agency. Several elderly people nodded slowly, as if indicating that he could start testing. The first one, majoring in aircraft power engineering, Wang Sheng. The teacher recited loudly. Wang Sheng immediately walked up. Although it's the first one. But his expression was not a hint of nervousness, but rather very calm. Walking carries a gust of wind. Obviously, I am very confident in my graduation project. He waved his hand. Soon. A device was pushed up by someone. To report to all teachers and leaders, my graduation project is a turbofan engine, which is a small bypass ratio thrust vector turbofan engine. The afterburner thrust is 161865.18137 N, the middle thrust is 10522 Dan, the afterburner fuel consumption rate is 1.98 kg per Dan per hour, the middle fuel consumption rate is 0.67 kg per Dan per hour, and the thrust-to-weight ratio is 9.7.10.87. Wang Sheng confidently introduced. The thrust-to-weight ratio of this turbofan engine is extremely excellent, and it can even be used as a fifth-generation fighter jet engine. Such a powerful turbofan engine. But from a data perspective, such engines can rank among the top-tier engines. However, we cannot just look at the data, but also at the actual product. That's right, Wang Sheng, could you show me the internal structure and conduct on-site testing? The intake adopts a titanium-structured annular intake casing with 18 variable curvature inlet guide vanes. The front part is a radial support plate, the rear part is an adjustable part, and the leading edge is equipped with air anti-icing from the high pressure compressor. The fan adopts a 3-stage axial flow wide-chord solid titanium alloy fan blade, and the first-stage fan. Wang Sheng talked confidently and introduced every aspect clearly. I am truly the class monitor, and I have developed a turbofan engine myself. With such impressive thrust, perhaps they will still be armed in the army in the future. Isn't it? This is too impressive. My brother Wang Yyds. Classmates are carefully discussing below. But Zhuge Ming was quite disdainful. A turbofan engine may be good. But compared to his scramjet engine, it's simply garbage. Conduct wind tunnel testing. The teacher nodded and then said to the staff. For this test, the gymnasium has already been renovated. A huge wind tunnel tester is also placed next to it. Boom boom boom. In front of the wind tunnel tester, Wang Sheng's engine began to run rapidly. At the same time, a number also appears on the front display screen. Push-to-weight ratio. For .8.5.6, this data is exactly half less than what Wang Sheng reported verbally. P.S. The new book set sail, data is important, seeking support. Long live if you pass 005. Is our school shameless anymore? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The high-pressure compressor should adopt a 6-stage axial flow design, but it uses a 5-stage axial flow design, which reduces the boost ratio by 2.36. The first 3 stages stator blades should be made of high-temperature titanium alloy, but it uses 316 stainless steel. There is no large hole in the center of the low-pressure turbine disc, and there is no rear bearing installed for the high-pressure rotor. The number of flame stabilizers in the afterburner is too small, so 36 radial stabilizers should be used. Lu Yan immediately noticed the problem with Wang Sheng and murmured to himself. His words were also heard by Zhuge Ming beside him. Not long after, a leader from Longhua Space Administration stood up and began analyzing Wang Sheng's turbofan engine. Zhuge Ming was instantly shocked. Because what that senior said is almost the same as what Lu Yan just said. Lu Yan, this kid. When did you become so powerful? Wang Sheng, although your design is good, there are several serious flaws. However, considering that you are only a senior student with no practical experience in manufacturing engines, we have unanimously decided to give you a score of 68 after discussion. The teacher walked up to Wang Sheng and said, 69 points. This score is just passing, which is clearly far from his expectations. He felt a bit regretful at this moment. Why didn't he know how to challenge the turbofan engine? No, this assessment is too difficult. The class monitor only scored 69 points. A score of 68 is probably missing out on the Longhua Space Administration. Although it failed, it's quite impressive for a college student to be able to independently create a turbofan engine. The requirements of Longhua Space Administration are really too high. After hearing Wang Sheng's score, the students below immediately began to discuss. I know this kid Wang Sheng. Although he is the class monitor, he has always been arrogant and it's good to have some setbacks. The turbofan engine is still a bit too difficult for senior students. If it is an ordinary engine, their score may be higher. Does the selection of talents by Longhua Space Administration seem to have much higher requirements than before? It seems that it is said that the Dragon Kingdom has already launched the Moon and Mars programs, and if they could join these two programs, their lifetime achievements would be immeasurable. It's a pity that this turbofan engine crashed, but there will definitely be better works in the future. The leaders of Major Bu from the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics are also quietly discussing. Although Wang Sheng did not score high, but they still have confidence in the students they teach themselves. Next, majoring in aircraft design, Lu Wenshan. The teacher saw that Wang Sheng's equipment had been dragged down and quickly began a new round of testing. Lu Wenshan walked up, holding a large box in his hand. After opening the box, a black painted drone appeared in front of everyone. Report to teachers and leaders, my graduation project is a multi-rotor fire rescue drone. This drone adopts a horizontal 6-rotor layout with high redundancy. The body, rotor arm, tripod, and payload adopt a modular quick insertion structure, which can be quickly assembled, debugged, and transferred. Lu Wenshan is conducting an introduction. But the leaders of the space agency on stage are clearly not very interested. There's no way. Although Wang Sheng's score is not high, but his turbofan engine is clearly more eye-catching than this drone. Is Lu Wenshan here with the intention of passing? If the multi-rotor fire rescue drone is a graduation project for an ordinary college student, it would be quite good, but at our Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, it is a mixed graduation project. There's nothing we can do. Everyone's abilities are limited, and it's not a crime to just graduate. My work is also a mixed graduation. Many students saw Lu Wenshan's ideas. Actually, they are the same. If you don't have the ability to create eye-catching products, then honestly do something that ordinary people can do. Although I may not get a high score, passing is always a problem. After a brief display at Lu Wenshan, the teacher asked him to stop. After a moment, the teacher said, Lu Wenshan, your multi-rotor fire rescue drone is fully manufactured, but lacks creativity. According to the unanimous decision of the school leadership, we will give you 60 points. Hear the number 60 points. Lu Wenshan breathed a sigh of relief. His goal is to graduate. However, the leaders of Longhua Space Administration were unwilling to even comment on his works, which made him somewhat disappointed. Thank you, teacher. I will work harder in the future. Lu Wenshan nodded and then walked down. Continuing. Test a few classmates again. These people are like Lu Wenshan. They also went towards graduation. The entire graduation project was produced very completely, but there was almost no innovation. Drones are also drones. Did your class poke the drone's nest? A school leader was a bit angry and said to a teacher. Their school is not the only one watching this graduation project. Keep going like this. The face of the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics is about to lose its luster. Teacher Chen. I remember there was a student named Zhuge Ming in your class. He seems to be designing some ramjet engine, let him go. The school leader suddenly remembered something and said to another teacher. Once when he went to the laboratory, he happened to encounter 3 senior students designing engines. P.S. New book set sale, seeking support and likes. 006 scramjet engine. The highest score appears. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Next, majoring in aircraft power engineering, Zhuge Ming, Wang Yi, and Qin Feng. The teacher stood on the stage and shouted. It's our turn. I'm so excited. The 2 roommates next to Lu Yan suddenly became excited. On the contrary, Zhuge Ming was very calm. Come on. Lu Yan looked at the 3 people and smiled. Continuing. The 3 of them walked up. Surprisingly, this time it was a collective cooperation. Although graduation projects can be collaborative, if the results are not stunning, the average score will also be very low. That Zhuge Ming seems to be a top student in the field of aircraft power engineering. He also interned at Far East Heavy Industries. Far East Heavy Industry is the cradle of Longhua industry, and it's not easy to intern there. I'm a bit excited about what they're doing. As the 3 of them took the stage, their classmates also began to discuss quietly. On the one hand, Zhuge Ming is somewhat famous in school. On the other hand, this is also the first collective cooperation project of the entire venue. Dear teachers and leaders, the theme of our design this time is the scramjet engine. This scramjet engine has an estimated thrust-to-weight ratio of around 20, a Mach number range of 0-10, a suction type of 0-3 or 5, a flight altitude range of 0-50 km, a thrust range of 0.5 kg 50,000 kg, and a fuel consumption rate of less than 1 kg per ko. Zhuge Ming confidently introduced. Surprisingly, it is a scramjet engine that can obtain oxygen from the atmosphere during ascent, saving weight. It seems that there is something about the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, even the development of scramjet engines. According to theoretical calculations, if it is a scramjet engine, the thrust generated can easily reach supersonic flight, and it is not difficult to manufacture supersonic missiles. However, the use of this scramjet engine as a fighter jet engine is indeed good. If it is used in space, it would not be ideal as there is no oxygen in space. Xian Lao, you're too greedy. With this scramjet engine, what else do you need a bicycle for? Different from the previous test. This time, the leaders of Longhua Space Administration also showed excited expressions. Looking at their surprised expressions. The leaders of the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics also feel that there is a lot of light on their faces. Zhuge Ming is going against the sky. Once this scramjet engine is launched, it is estimated to be the first place. Superjet engines. Is this something that our senior students can study? The scramjet engine is unsolvable. Once this graduation project is released, who can compete with it? The location of Longhua Space Agency has been determined by Zhuge Ming. Don't say it so early, think about Wang Xing just now. If he overturned during the test, it would be unsightly. Indeed, we still need to test to determine whether it's true or false. See the graduation project presented by the trio. The classmates also started discussing in surprise. But after experiencing Wang Xing's car crash, classmates have become much more conservative. It's a mule or a horse, you have to walk around to know. Zhuge Ming, are you ready? Can we start testing? The teacher asked. Zhuge Ming frowned and said, a scramjet engine cannot start cold in a stationary state, so I need a wind tunnel to make the airflow reach ultra-high sound speed before I can conduct the experiment. The teacher nodded and then discussed something with the school leaders. The school leaders agreed to initiate wind tunnel tests. After the teacher finished speaking, he began to organize his classmates to stand on the other side. After all, this wind tunnel is different from before, it belongs to ultra-high sound velocity airflow. If the on-site environment is not properly arranged, it is likely to cause accidents. After a period of busy work, the airflow channel has also been cleaned out. Test started. After placing the engine in the appropriate position, with Zhuge Ming's one drink, the wind tunnel device began to roar. Different from previous tests. The noise generated this time made many students cover their ears. The wind is howling fiercely. The numbers on the display screen are also slowly rising. After a moment, the wind tunnel device has stopped. Push to weight ratio 17.35. A teacher took a deep breath and said, "Hear this number." Everyone was stunned. The thrust-to-weight ratio is one of the important parameters that determine the tactical and technical performance of an aircraft. Such a high thrust-to-weight ratio is really rare. You should know that the thrust-to-weight ratio of the EP1-10, the most advanced fighter jet in Dragon Country, is only 11. At this moment, an old man from Longwa Space Administration walked down from the stage. He approached the scramjet engine. I touched the engine. Continuing. He picked up 2 fingers and rubbed them, then sniffed them in front of his nose. Your name is Zhuge Ming? The old man asked. Zhuge Ming nodded. Your scramjet engine is indeed good, but you have forgotten the importance of coolant when using hydrocarbon fuel in a scramjet engine. In this way, the demand for cooling fuel may exceed the fuel required for combustion, which means that the amount of fuel used for cooling will be more than the fuel consumed by combustion. The excess hot fuel will inevitably accumulate somewhere in the engine, which will greatly affect the engine's efficiency. The old man smiled and said, although this scramjet engine still has some flaws, but it is already quite perfect. Zhuge Ming suddenly realized, it's really good. More guidance from the old gentleman. 10 minutes later, the teacher came to Zhuge Ming, Wang Yi, and Qin Feng and said, after unanimous discussion between the school leadership and experts from the Longwa Space Administration, it has been decided to give you 3 scores of 92, 88, and 85 respectively for your produced scramjet engine. The scores of the 3 are not the same. This is also a comprehensive calculation based on the part they are responsible for. Hiss. 92 points. This is the highest score, right? Although there are some flaws, if this project was developed by Zhuge Ming himself, the score would be at least 98 points. Collective cooperation projects tend to have lower ratings. Collective cooperation has both good and bad aspects. Although Zhuge Ming is smart, with his own strength, it will be much more difficult to develop it. I estimate that none of the students below were able to exceed this score. When the students heard about the scores, they all started discussing. But the leaders of the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics shook their heads. They have long known the selection criteria of Longwa Space Agency. That's above 95 points. Although the quota is said to be 2. But if this score is not achieved, Longwa Space Administration will not reduce admission scores. The teacher in charge of hosting on stage also shook his head helplessly. A score above 95 is really too difficult. Not even the scramjet engine was able to achieve it. Next, majoring in aircraft power engineering, Lu Yan. Unlike just now, when you pronounce Lu Yan's name, you can tell it from the tone of your voice. He has no expectations for this upcoming student. 007 is outrageous. Is this antimatter engine true? You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Lu Yan took a deep breath and walked forward. At the same time, Zhuge Ming and others have just finished cleaning up the supersonic engine. 4 people brushed past each other. The 3 of them cast encouraging gazes one after another. Dear teachers and leaders, I am Lu Yan from the Class 18 Aircraft Power Engineering major. What I designed is a high-performance driving device that uses protons and antiprotons to collide and generate enormous energy, which I call the Magus power system. Lu Yan reported. Proton and antiproton collision. Proton engine. Isn't this really an antimatter engine? This is too bullshit. This is the graduation project testing site, not a place for mischief. This is named Lu Yan. I'm afraid he's not suffering from a loss of heart. Lu Yan's words have just finished. The students below suddenly began to discuss. No one can believe it. A senior student was able to develop an antimatter engine. Although the antimatter engine has theoretical support. But with the current level of human technology, it is impossible to produce it. But among these onlookers. But one person was greatly shocked. That's Zhou Qingyu. Not long ago. She helped Lu Yan use the school's proton synchrotron accelerator. And successfully manufactured antiprotons. At that time, she still felt strange. How could Lu Yan create antiprotons? And his technology in manipulating proton synchrotron is even better than many professors. With these doubts, she only appeared here today. Now. Everything has revealed the answer. Originally, this Lu Yan was secretly developing a proton engine. Although no one else believed his words. But Zhou Qingyu had a feeling in her heart. Perhaps this Magus power system really exists. At this moment, the school leaders on stage are also discussing with each other. Which class is this named Lu Yan from? Today, the leaders of the space agency are here. What kind of chaos is he causing? Antimatter engine. Are you joking? Is that something a senior student can design? In theory, our Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics has an admission score of over 600 points. Those who can take this score are still fools. Is this trying to attract attention from the public? Teacher Chen, hurry up and let your students go down. Teacher Chen came down from the stage in a panic. Come to Lu Yan's side. I want to take him down. At this point, an old man from Longhua Space Agency stood up. Slow down. Surprisingly, this classmate said he has developed an antimatter engine, so let him show it. We don't need these few minutes. This old man's name is Qian Hongbo. He is an academician of Longhua, a leader of the space administration, and also one of the leaders of the Tianwen project. Although he doesn't believe it either. Someone can create an antimatter engine. But he could tell from the boy's gaze. He is not lying. This aroused his great curiosity. Upon hearing these words, Teacher Chen was also slightly taken aback. But after seeing Qian Hongbo's identity, he looked at Lu Yan and said, surprisingly, Mr. Qian said that. Then I'll give you 10 minutes to show off. Lu Yan nodded and gave Qian Hongbo a grateful glance. Dear teachers and leaders, my Magus power system has a particle beam core that can annihilate protons and antiprotons 1.1, and then use a magnetic field to control charged mesons and directly eject them from the nozzle. Due to the speed of these mesons approaching the speed of light, the engine's specific impulse may exceed 10 million seconds. Lu Yan stood in front of the engine he invented and began to introduce it one by one. When protons and antiprotons are annihilated, 3 charged mesons and 2 neutral mesons are produced, and the neutral mesons are almost immediately transformed into high-energy one's gamma ray. But unstable charged mesons can bring great danger. How did you solve it? Qian Hongbo walked up to Lu Yan and asked. The charged mesons produced by annihilation will decay into charged mesons with longer half-lives after passing through a special inert gas Mu-Giesi. In this way, we will be able to handle it easily. We can use a magnetic field to control their direction, allowing them to interact with propellants. These charged mesons also contain some annihilation energy, which is also the energy we can utilize. Lu Yan replied. Qian Hongbao nodded. According to Lu Yan's statement, it can indeed avoid the trouble caused by charged mesons. He then threw another question. And Lu Yan easily took it on. After analyzing the Magus power system, all the knowledge was stored in Lu Yan's mind. The conversation between the two continued non-stop. But the onlookers, including students, teachers, school leaders, and experts, were all shocked. Although they don't quite understand many aspects. But it can be observed from Academician Qian's expression. Is it true that the antimatter engine produced by Lu Yan is real? P.S. New book data is very important. Seeking point data also motivates authors to write books. Academician Qian. I can only say that if you look forward to it, just let it go. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Yan, can your engine be tested? Qian Hongbao suddenly stopped asking questions and then asked. In the conversation just now. He has already confirmed. The student in front of me. I must have mastered the technology of the antimatter engine. But whether his Magus power system has been successfully manufactured. Further verification is needed. Of course. Lu Yan smiled confidently. However, for the McGonagall powertrain system test, I hope to conduct flight tests at Mach numbers 20.35 using a reflected shock wind tunnel method. Lu Yan said lightly. His voice is not loud. In the ears of others, it feels like thunder. Isn't it? Do we need to use shockwave tunnels? Mach numbers 20.35. Exceeding the speed of the second universe. If there really is this speed, ordinary wind tunnels cannot test it. Blow it so hard, don't wait until the testing time, it's embarrassing if you crash. The classmates heard Lu Yan's words and began to discuss one after another. And the school leaders are also discussing. I listened to the conversation between Academician Qian and Lu Yan just now and realized that this antimatter engine may be real. If this student really develops an antimatter engine, then our dragon country will not only reach a new level in the aerospace industry, but even in the military industry. That's right, the antimatter engine can also be applied to new fighter jets. Once this type of fighter jet uses the antimatter engine, I don't think it can be called a 6th-generation fighter jet. It has to be called an 8th-generation, no, a 10th-generation fighter jet. Let Lu Yan give it a try. If he can really succeed, it will also be beneficial for the enrollment of our Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics. Director Yu is right. The birth of the antimatter engine is not just about the Dragon Kingdom, but also something that the whole world should pay attention to. Director Wang's words are not accurate. If this engine is true, we should keep it a secret. You too, the most important thing now is the wind tunnel test. Right. The teacher in charge of hosting said, Lu Yan, we are already preparing the shockwave wind tunnel, and it won't be long before we start the experiment. What else do you need to prepare for? Lu Yan nodded and said, if possible, I would like to have some stainless steel materials. In wind tunnel testing. The model aircraft equipped with the Magus power system will reach Mach 20 or above. Although the model planes in the school are made of high-temperature resistant titanium alloy materials. But at a speed of 20 Mach, the temperature of the fuselage will exceed 800. The best titanium alloy can only withstand high temperatures of 700. The reason why carbon alloys are widely used as materials in aircraft. The main purpose is still to lose weight. In terms of high temperature resistance, stainless steel is more excellent. High-quality stainless steel can even withstand high temperatures of 2000. Upon hearing Lu Yan's request, The teacher nodded. Stainless steel is not something difficult to find. Soon, Lu Yan obtained the stainless steel material he wanted. Pick up the welding machine. He began to carry out the operation. At the same time, the shock-wave wind tunnel is also being installed. The students looked at the scene in front of them and felt it was magical. Look at the serious work of the school staff and Lu Yan. Can this so-called antimatter engine really fly above Mach 20? Academician Qian, what was the result of your conversation with that student just now? Yeah, Lao Qian, I've never seen you so serious before. Did Lu Yan really create an antimatter engine? Old Qian, please give us an explanation first, and we are also mentally prepared. After Qian Hongbo returned to his seat, his colleagues approached him with inquiries. Faced with these inquiries, Qian Hongbo just shook his head. Anyway, the testing is about to start. Just wait and see the results. However, I can tell you, just raise your expectations a bit. After listening to Qian Hongbo's mysterious and unpredictable words, these experts from the space agency didn't guess a reason either. They are at this moment. I can only watch Lu Yan playing drums in the field. Done. Lu Yanchang let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he has good welding skills. The test aircraft will soon be modified. Lu Yan, we have already prepared everything on our end. Can you start testing on your end? The teacher asked. The teacher is speaking very politely at this moment. He can sense it. The boy in front of me. The expectations of the school leaders were all placed on him. Once the experiment is successful, that boy's future will be limitless. Sure. Lu Yan smiled slightly and said. The shockwave tunnel is ready. Start testing. As the staff adjusted the parameters, the test specimens were also placed in the wind tunnel. The experiment has officially begun. Let's fly at 10 times the speed of sound first. Lu Yan spoke up. Then he began remote control. Boom. When the engine ignites, the combustion chamber emits light like a spaceship from Star Wars. 009 Crazy acceleration. The whole field is numb. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. See the performance of the Magus powertrain system. All faces showed shocked expressions. This is really terrifying. In an instant, it reached Mach 10. Crazy. Crazy. The antimatter engine is actually real. Is this still the real world? In less than half a minute, we have reached Mach 10 and are still in the starting state. This kind of acceleration is unbearable for human terror, right? Are you stupid? The system is dead, people are alive, and it's not difficult to control it to reach this speed. I always feel that this 10 Mach is not the limit of this engine. The students were discussing quietly. And experts from Longwa Space Administration. But shocked and speechless. Their knowledge reserves far exceed those of these students. In terms of the starting speed of this engine alone, it is highly likely to exceed the wind tunnel test limit of 40 Mach. Bang! 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 Trace amounts of antimatter are injected into a large amount of hydrogen propellant, beginning to collide with positive matter. The violent reaction evaporates the propellant into plasma, which is sprayed out from the exhaust nozzle. As a result, a deafening roar erupted. The roar echoed throughout the entire sky. Everyone at the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics raised their heads and looked towards the direction of Gymnasium 2. Lie down, scare me. Who is so ungrateful, almost scaring away my lifelong happiness? What's going on over there? This sound is louder than thunder. I'm afraid there hasn't been an accident, has it? Let's hurry over and take a look. The crowd began to gather toward Sports Center 2. Soon, a teacher came to the ear of the school leader to give a report. Notify the security department that the sound just now was a normal experiment in the school, and no one is allowed to approach the number 2 sports center. The school leader said seriously. What a joke. This antimatter engine is highly likely to be real. If exposed by someone with ulterior motives, that would be a big trouble. At the same time, the speed displayed on the shock wave wind tunnel testing machine also reached 25 Mach. See this number. The experts from Longwa Space Agency couldn't sit still. In such a short period of time. Accelerated to 25 Mach, successfully surpassing the first cosmic velocity. If the spacecraft reaches this speed, it will move in a circular motion around the Earth without further propulsion. If it falls below this speed, it will fall. At the current level of human engines, it is simply impossible to achieve this. But this student from the Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics has achieved it. The antimatter engine has been largely confirmed to exist. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect that our country, Longwa, would also have a day leading the world in the field of engines. With this engine, the Moon, no, Mars is no problem. This kid is truly a talent that only happens once in 5,000 years in our dragon country. Many veteran aerospace experts have shed scorching tears. Because I saw this engine. They saw the hope of Dragon Kingdom returning to the top of the world. However, Lu Yen is currently under control. I am not very satisfied with the performance of the Magus powertrain system. Because the acceleration time was exactly 20 seconds slower than he expected. It seems to be due to the problem with the particle source. Although americium-241 can erupt with strong power as a particle source. But compared to hydrogen atoms, it is still slightly inferior. After all, a hydrogen nucleus is a proton that is easily annihilated by antiprotons used as fuel. Lu Yen silently noted this point down. And continue to accelerate. After a moment, everyone present is numb. Surprisingly, Lu Yen is still accelerating. The current speed has reached Mach 37. Hiss. 37 Mach, this speed has already exceeded the second universe speed. If the human body cannot tolerate such strong acceleration. That's right, the faster the acceleration, the greater the gravitational acceleration it can withstand. Ordinary people can withstand a gravitational acceleration of 3 gs, while professionally trained pilots can withstand an acceleration of 5.7 gs. These are not important. I believe NASA has a way to solve this problem, and even if it cannot be solved, such a fast speed can still be loaded into missiles, and then it can hit the world in just 1 minute. 1 minute. Too conservative, right? The use of this type of engine is really too extensive, whether it's for civilian or military use. Lu Yen, this kid, is definitely going to make a fortune. Getting rich. A bigger picture. A talent who can make such an engine can solve 99.9% of problems without spending money anymore. Amidst the chatter of classmates. The shock wave wind tunnel testing machine has finally reached its maximum testing speed. 40 Mach. Principle 010, what else are you discussing? Just give it a full score. You are listening at novel full.audio. Stop it. Qian Hongba stood up and said. As the speed reaches Mach 40. The stainless steel outside the model aircraft also turned red due to friction. Continuing to test is not very meaningful. Hoo. The sound of the airflow slowly stopped. Under the control of Lu Yen, the engine finally came to a stop. All the experts from Longwa Space Administration stepped down from the stage. They came to the front of the engine made by Lu Yen. Carefully observe. They are very careful when touching. Because it has just been running at high speed, the entire engine is still very hot. Mach 40. I'll be good. Who else is there? Did you book this NEMA directly with full marks? Is the antimatter engine real? The course of human history needs to be rewritten. I can't believe it, are the graduates of our school so strong? I found that this Lu Yen is not only a genius, but also a handsome guy. I also noticed, especially his profile, it's really amazing. I love his looks. I can't stand it. I want to confess my love. After the experiment stopped, the students started discussing again. Today's graduation project test is really constantly refreshing their values. All students are looking up at the podium. It seems that everyone is looking forward to Lu Yan's score. School leaders have also started to communicate. How should we rate this antimatter engine? I can't make this thing, just give it 100 points. Look at those old gentlemen from the space agency, they are so serious that they probably don't have time to discuss with us anymore. In the history of Imperial University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, there is no precedent for a graduation project to score 100 points, but this antimatter engine is simply too stunning, and the historical record is meant to be broken. Principal, what are you discussing? Give it a full score. However, there's a question, was this antimatter engine really created by him as a senior student? Yes, if it's not, then our school is in a bad situation. If there is a design manuscript, this problem will be solved. After a round of discussion with the school leadership, the principal approached Lu Yen and said, Lu Yen, can you publish your original design draft? Upon hearing these words, experts from the Longwa Space Administration quickly approached. Upon hearing these 4 words in the design manuscript, Academician Qian Hongba's eyes lit up and he ran over. He looked at Lu Yen and said, Lu Yen, it's not that we don't believe you, we just want to broaden our horizons. For an engine, design drawings are crucial. If one could observe the design diagram of this antimatter engine, it would also be of great help to many of his research. For this point, Lu Yen naturally doesn't care. Firstly, the design diagram is analyzed by the system, and each point is very detailed. Moreover, the entire Magus system is extremely complex and cannot be solved with just a glance. He opened his backpack on his back. Take out a stack of materials. Design drawings are also a part of the graduation project that needs to be prepared. Lu Yen handed the materials to Academician Qian Hongba. Soon, others also gathered around the past. Qian Hongba took the materials handed over by Lu Yen and began to open them. Although he looks fast, he is particularly careful. And his face was constantly changing. The expressions of others, with their mouths almost all looking like a small round hole. When you see the second half of the information, Qian Hongba's hands trembled. And he started murmuring to himself in his mouth. Oh my God, it's just that. What a genius. What a genius design. I have this talent in Longwa, so I have no worries. Academician Qian Hongba suddenly burst into tears of excitement, feeling a bit helpless. This. I've never seen so many big shots lose their composure before. They seem to be reading Lu Yan's design manuscript, which is the detailed information of the antimatter engine. This is actually quite normal. Although I haven't seen the information, I also have a desire to cry. Upon hearing the saying in the morning, it's enough to die in the evening. These experts and professors have always wanted to explore science, and now a perfect answer sheet is just in front of them. How could they not be excited? Is this Lu Yen an alien? Come on. We must admit that some people are just better than us. There is also a gap between geniuses and geniuses. The speaker is actually Zhuge Ming, he seems to be in the same dormitory as Lu Yen. Master Zhuge. Let's talk about the matter of Lu Shen. The expression on my face after seeing the teacher I admire and the experts from the space agency. Classmates have once again been refreshed in their values. They suddenly started discussing everything about Lu Yen. At the same time, as Academician Qian Hongba closes the documents, The experts from Longhua Space Administration also withdrew their gaze and began to discuss. Upon seeing this information, I suddenly felt like I was a primary school student. The road to science has no end. It turns out that I am so insignificant. Talents from all over the country emerge. The aftermath of the rise of the Dragon Kingdom is worth being seen by the world. This matter must be reported.